Good evening to all of you. Dear Ambassador Staehelin, dear members of the jury, dear teams and participants to the Geneva Challenge, ladies and gentlemen, dear students, good evening. It's really my great pleasure to welcome you to the Institute tonight for the 2024 Advancing Development Goals International Contest for Graduate Students, also known for short as the Geneva Challenge. This is the 11th edition of the challenge. As you may know, the Graduate Institute launched the Advancing Development Goals Contest in 2014 thanks to the vision and the generous support of Ambassador Jenö Staehelin and under the patronage of late Kofi Annan, whom the Graduate Institute counts as one of its students, by the way. I'm sure that you've been told that already. Kofi Annan presented the challenge in the following way. The Advancing Development Goals Contest is a worthy and important initiative and will encourage and inspire young students to be key agents for development and peace. Every year is a special edition, and this year is no exception. I feel that the topic we chose for this year, the challenges of youth empowerment, could not be more pertinent and more important than it is today. Today, the world counts 1.8 billion of people between the ages of 10 and 24. That's a potential amazing force for positive change. Kofi Annan once said that any society that does not succeed in tapping into the energy and the creativity of its youth will be left behind. The problem is that young people face across the world various obstacles to empowerment and to action. In parts of the world, children and young people do not have access to education. Young women are particularly affected, and in their case, this could combine with child marriage and gender-based violence. Even when young people have access to education, another barrier can be that of employment. Youth unemployment has been on the rise for decades, and this touches many countries across the world. In Greece or in Colombia, the youth employment rate, people between 15 to 24, is higher than 25%. In Turkey or France, it's close to 20%, while South Africa has one of the highest rates of youth unemployment with close to 50%. Wars are obviously another major obstacle to youth empowerment for positive change. And the climate of war is once again in human history becoming the spirit of the time. We've never had so many wars as we have today since World War II. The Geneva Academy, which is a joint center of the University of Geneva and of the Graduate Institute, counts more than 110 armed conflicts around the world. Those conflicts have major impact on youth. Many young men are mobilized for those wars. Young women might be on the receiving end and suffering all kinds of ills that are generated by those wars. All youth living in war-torn countries face injuries, destruction, the potentiality of death, and the undermining of hope and of their right to a future. UNICEF tells us, furthermore, that across the world, children are more likely than adults to live in poverty. Here again, this creates major obstacles to empowerment, mobilization, and the capacity to act. The young generation is also comparatively more likely to be concerned by environmental challenges and the likely transformations of conditions of life in many different parts of the world, which will be the consequence of climate change and of natural resources depletion. Another ill that is less talked about but touches increasingly the young is the epidemic of structural loneliness and mental health issues that is profoundly being reinforced by modern technologies. Last year, this was the topic that we dealt with the Geneva Challenge. So what does youth empowerment mean? Youth empowerment entails improving young people's situation on all those counts and finding the ways to give them the tools and the confidence needed for engaging in positive change and becoming leaders of societal transformation, innovation, and economic opportunities. There are obviously material elements that are necessary for that, and many of those I've mentioned already. We need to work for peace, First, we need to make sure the young have access to health, to education, and to jobs. But we also need to encourage the return of human and face-to-face socialization. And we have to be extremely voluntaristic in our inclusion of the young generation in all decision-making bodies that will have an impact on their future, and that includes, naturally, our multilateral system, particularly the one here in Geneva. And so here the responsibility lies with my generation, or the generation just a bit younger than me. We need to create the space, the mechanisms, and the incentives to mobilize you, your generation, to help us with the courageous decisions and choices that urgently need to be made on many different issues and that will concern you even much more than us. So I'm delighted to see this year's Geneva Challenge has talked to that important question of youth empowerment, and I'm looking very much forward to discovering the projects of our 2024 finalist teams. Let me mention that a total of 205 teams and 850 participants registered from across the world for this edition of the challenge. I'm heartened by the idea of the engagement this represents. More than a competition, the Geneva Challenge is a collective drive, hence a collaboration across the world on some of the most urgent issues of our world. And in that sense, you're all winners, all of you, all teams that have participated in the challenge. Seeing how engaged and how committed your generation is, happens to be the generation of my own children, so I know that also from, from deep interactions with my children, gives me a lot of hope, and it revives my conviction that however dire our straits are, we just have to keep aiming for peace, justice, and sustainability together, and that is precisely together that we can make significant progress in that direction. Let me take the opportunity of those few words to express a number of heartfelt thanks. First, naturally, I would like to thank Ambassador Staehelin for his long-standing support of the Geneva Challenge. The challenge would not exist without you, dear Jenö, and we are very aware of that, and we are really, very happy that you give us your support on this very important project. These thanks are expressed on behalf of all of us at the Institute, but also, I think, of all participants and all alumni of the challenge for over the last 11 years. I would also want to give warm thanks to Michael Moller, who is a former director, as you all know, of the United Nations here at Geneva, and is currently a senior distinguished fellow at the Institute and also president of the jury of the Geneva Challenge. Thank you very much, Michael. It's a great honor you're doing us for being here at the Institute in general, but also for having accepted to lead the jury once Jenö felt that it was time for him to take a bit of a step backward. I would also like to express our collective thanks to our distinguished members of the jury, Ms. Aggie Veres, who is the director of UNDP in Geneva, Ms. Rachel Quick from the Oak Foundation, Ms. Yvette Stevens, former permanent representative of Sierra Leone in Geneva, and Mr. Florian Schatz from the Deutsche Gesellschaft für internationale Zusammenarbeit. My German is it's progressing. Let me also thank members of the steering committee and on the side of the Institute, Professor Martina Viarango, the president of the scientific committee, and Lena Menge, who has made us the honor of being with us today, and all the team with Cécile Gardel and Clara, who was here somewhere, she's here, for their very important management and coordination role throughout the year. Last but not least, I would also like to thank our Com and Evans team at the Institute for all the hard work they've put. I know they just told me that they've also recorded very nice videos of you, so I'm also very much looking forward to seeing that. So all this to say that the Geneva Challenge represents a very intense teamwork, and I'm very impressed by the energy, the motivation, and even the joy that the challenges generates in all those people who are involved with it year after year. As the 2030 deadline, SDG deadline is around the corner, in a world rife with profound geopolitical tensions and with our common future hanging in the balance, it is undeniable that systemic and long-term change is what we should aim for. and with quite a degree of urgency. This is what our world needs. This aim requires courage and integrity, the courage to embrace complexity and decide under uncertainty, the integrity that is the mark of true leadership and so rare those days amongst the leaders who rule our world. I know you will exhibit those values, those forces that we need in the world of tomorrow, and I'm really very much looking forward to what you will tell us tonight, but also what you will do in the coming years. So we're very proud at the Institute to be hosting the Geneva Challenge. For the last 10 years, the challenge has empowered students and young people from across the world to engage in thinking, in daring, in dreaming, and imagining sustainable futures and solutions, imagining a desirable future that is better than the one that is promised to us today. So before we discover the finalist project, which I'm very much looking forward, we have the pleasure and the honor to welcome Ms. Memory Banda, who will be giving the keynote online. Unfortunately, she could not join us today. So again, a big thank you to all of you who are making the Geneva Challenge possible. A big thank you for in advance, and congrats in advance to all the teams, which are all for me winners. And I'm going to now leave the floor to Professor Viarengo, who will also be the moderator of the discussion with Ms. Banda, and will also introduce Ms. Banda in more words than I've done. Thank you very much to all of you.
Thank you, Marie-Laure, and good evening to all of you. I'm delighted to introduce our speaker, Ms. Memory Banda. She's currently working at Save the Children in Malawi. Ms. Banda became an advocate for women's rights after her sister was married at the age of 11. She completed her studies and advocated for women's rights in her own community, which became among the first in Malawi to ban child marriage. She also participated in a broader campaign to end child marriage, called I Will Marry When I Want. In 2017, the Malawi government raised the minimum legal age for marriage from 15 to 18. However, the enforcement of the legislation has been uneven, and informally, the practice of child marriage persists, often as a result of poverty and inequalities. In 2019, with the support of the Freedom Fund, Ms. Banda founded the Foundation for Girls' Leadership. The foundation has several programs and goals, including empowering children to education and empowering girls with leadership skills. According to an article published earlier this year in the New York Times, her foundation has helped more than 500 girls to stay in school and avoid child marriage. In 2019, Ms. Banda was honored as one of the activists featured by the Young Activist Summit here in Geneva. In today's lecture, she will focus on the power of youth in driving change. We are delighted to have you among us, Ms. Banda. The floor is yours.
Hi everyone. I am so excited to be here today, remotely, but it is such a great honor for me. And yeah, I'm super excited to be in a room full of young people who are doing so much amazing things. And most importantly, to address this year's Geneva Challenge, which is a great platform for young people to accelerate and advance the development goals innovatively so great to see so many young innovators changing our world today. And I really wish I was there physically, but technology keeps on, pulling us all together. And all the same, I'm here, and I'm so grateful to the Geneva Institute for really organizing this great event that really brings out the best in young people. It is also a great pleasure to share my passion towards promoting the rights of children, and that was a great introduction. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. And again, I was in 2019, I was one of the young activist lieutenants. And 4 years down the line, it's so great here today to witness a new generation through the Geneva Challenge, coming up with new solutions. And this is quite remarkable. And I quote Dr. Thomas Gass, who is actually the former Assistant Secretary General, who said, "The Sustainable Development Goals are a shared vision of a world, the vision piece of the globalization puzzle. And as a puzzle piece, each one of us has a role to play to fit a piece of a puzzle into the bigger picture. So really, everyone's contributions inspires hope for a brighter future." And talking about a brighter future, just a decade ago, I was a part of the massive movement in my country to raise the legal marriage age from 15 years to 18 years. My voice contributed largely to this campaign, and really this was everyone's movement, the young, the old, girls and boys. With the young as frontiers, it became a global movement against child marriage. Today, Malawi has a law that outlaws all marriages below the age of 18. As a country, we have made some progress, reducing the child marriage rate from 42% to 37.7%. This might not seem like a very big, it doesn't seem like it's so much amplifying, but remember, these are, human faces behind. These are the girls behind, and I'm so happy that we have made some changes ever since the law was actually passed. And this could not happen if we were comfortable. And I'd like to share with all of you that for change to happen, we must be uncomfortable. And our ask was very simple then. We wanted to see every child in school, especially girls. And today we continue to mobilize parents, communities to value every child's education. We continue to partner with the Global Village to accelerate this progress. And through my foundation, Foundation for Girls Leadership, I continue to be a piece of puzzle that contributes to the well-being of children and empower girls to be fearless and to be bold for change. And this is really what I want for girls all over the world. To accelerate progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals, it will require transferring resources from one sector to another sector, creating regulatory environments, deploying new technologies, and mobilizing a wide range of actors to advance disruptive change that the young people would want to see. The key principle of sustainable development goals underlying all others is the integration of environmental change, social, economic concerns, and into all aspects of decision making. We live in a world of changes so profound and rapid that no country can stand alone. The world is interlinked threats and challenges that requires everyone to share a responsibility and to contribute to a common vision. And as I speak, children and girls in developing countries like Malawi are living in acute poverty, where 1 in 8 among children lives in extreme poverty, and 2 in 5 are living without access to adequate sanitation. Girls and women have to walk the longest distance just to fetch water, where girls do not have access to menstrual health hygiene products, and millions of our children, especially girls, are out of school. where many women and girls are still deprived from equal opportunities, and where girls are made brides as young as 11, 12 years, 15 years, causing girls to drop out of school. And we are gathered here, the survival of the planet's biodiversity is also at a greater risk. I grew up in a home where the only thing that kept us going was hope, where the dream to finish primary or high school was only a far-fetched dream, the dream that gets choked with so many beliefs, norms, and values that underwrite girls' and women's ability to thrive. Girls are dropping out of school and being married off as young as 11 years old every day just because they are girls. I stand here firmly to share with you that investing in education can accelerate progress across multiple sustainable development goals. By focusing on creating safe, nurturing environment, we will be creating a sustainable future for all the children. And being here today remotely, witnessing the Geneva Graduate Institute opening its doors every year through the Geneva Challenge to continue exploring the best approaches towards accelerating the Sustainable Development Goals, connecting borders, and bringing young innovators together for social transformative change. Young people are experiencing different challenges towards a sustainable future. These profound challenges include extreme poverty, which is increasing issues of such as child marriage, school dropout, education skills gap, unemployment, social and digital skills exclusion, mental health issues, political and civic engagement, as well as climate and environmental adaptation issues. To strengthen a more democratic society is also high time that we must see young people not just as participants towards development, but we should see them as our partners. Current representation of youth, excuse me. Yeah. And current representation of youth in decision-making structure is actually quite low. And estimates show that youth participation decision-making structure is actually at 1%. And today I am so much excited that each challenge component highlighted, these scholars have shown us that through their innovations, that it is possible to solve all these challenges if we collaborate and we work collectively. And in closing, the Sustainable Development Goals framework calls for strengthened leadership of young people across the globe, promoting economic empowerment, investing in innovation and skills of young people, and making long investment in young people. And reflecting from 2015, we do not have the 30 years anymore to the 2030 global goals. We have less than 6 years to make an evaluation of our progress. The time to accelerate progress is actually now. And I'd like to dare all of you gathered here today, as young people, let's continue to participate meaningfully in all the development aspects with our diverse skills. Effective youth participation is actually essential to advancing human rights, to addressing the climate crisis, and making progress towards the SDGs. Time to make progress is now. This must be a moment of action and realization that young people are actually the engine to the future. I am today reminding our governments, local and global actors to continue building partnerships with young people in all aspects of the Sustainable Development Goals, economic, social, as well as environment action. To continue supporting youth-led programs and projects through flexible funding, and to, as well as you should know that digital divide is actually a great issue among its young people currently, and digital equality should be the goal. Meaningful access to digital and other technologies is actually important for social, political, and economic empowerment amongst young people. Let me end sharing my favorite quote for the week during this year's COP29. As young people, never underestimate your power in your communities, on social media, in schools, as well as on the streets. You're not only calling for change, but you're also making change happen. And these are the words from the UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, during the COP29 deliberations. And once again, thank you everyone for gathering us to a platform that we can continue to inspire change for a better world. And remember, as young people, we are actually the allies to a greater future. And with these remarks, thank you so much. It was supposed to be a PowerPoint presentation, and I tried to compress to a quite complete speech. And thank you so much, the Geneva Challenge, for having me this year remotely. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Banda, for this interesting and important talk. We have some time for questions. And I would like to start by asking you, going back to the education and skills gap. So in spite of the fact that the school enrollments have increased over the past decades, around the world, more than 600 million youth have not mastered basic proficiency in mathematics and reading. And the learning crisis is especially affecting the poorest and most vulnerable children. What can be done to avoid further declines in education attainment and learning outcomes? How do you think the digital transformation can contribute to more inclusive and sustainable societies?
Thank you so much for those thoughtful questions. And I'll start with the education gap. I feel like I'll put it in the Malawi, in the African perspective, where I have seen the biggest gap in education and skills is where we look at our curriculum. Too often for our curriculum hasn't really changed and prepared the young people for the world that we are facing today. Too often what we learn in classroom is more of like preparing us for white-collar jobs and all that. Yet we have really different components where we need young people to be exposed to entrepreneurship, for instance. We want young people to be exposed to art and craft. We want young people to be also exposed to technical skills, vocational technical skills, for example, so that young people have really diversity in terms of how they can explore the world that we are facing today. So there is really need for us to sit back and reflect on our education system, our curriculum, excuse me, yeah, in our curriculum. And I think that is quite key. And also the other thing that I wanted to put across is also reflecting on classroom pedagogy, where now we are able to ensure that when we are providing education, it's quite inclusive beyond gender, so that everyone should be able to acquire the skills that they need for them to be able to survive in this quite challenging world, so that we are quite progressive. With how the world is not static, we have to progress as well, so that we prepare the young people to the ever-changing world that we are living in. And I'm sorry, you have to repeat the second question.
Yes, I'm going to ask you now. Thank you very much. So I was wondering if we think about crises and shocks such as wars, conflict, the COVID pandemic, natural disasters, they are really affecting to a larger extent those who are already at a greater disadvantage and living in poverty. What can be done, in particular, in low and middle-income countries where resources for public investment are more limited? And specifically, how do you see the role for a joint effort by governments, civil society, and the private sector?
Yeah, all right. Thank you so much for repeating that question to me. So yeah, I mean, like, I'll give an example. During COVID-19, in my country, Malawi, the child marriage rate actually doubled. So it was more of like the country, the world, the countries just met this crisis. We have COVID, and the young people in the communities, they don't know how to respond to such shock, and together with the education system, and everything was quite disruptive. And we actually recorded the highest child marriage rate in the country. It more of like brought us back 10 years down the line, just during the COVID-19 crisis. And similarly, in the countries where they're experiencing wars and they're like, and we know for sure that the people that are affected the most are actually children and young people. And there is need for really collective effort where we have the private actors, the government, individuals. As I said, we all fit into this puzzle where everyone, little by little, we contribute to ensuring that we are protecting everyone. And at the same time, I think it's also high time we sit down and reflect on our policies framework in different countries. How do we handle issues how do we respond once we meet such crises? Do we react? Do we wait for an event to occur and react? Those are the questions that we have to be asking ourselves when we are setting up different programming interventions and programs for different crises. So I would say that we have to sit back on our desk and reflect. Are we really responding to the root causes of the global challenges that we are facing today? Because if we don't, then we'll keep on, experiencing them. The next generation is going to also experience the very same challenges. We'll not be solving them at all. So it's really great that we have to sit back, reflect on the root causes, and deal with those root causes of the challenges that we are experiencing.
Okay, and thank you. And the last question for you. One of the aims of the Geneva Challenge contest is to bridge the gap between academic research, practice, and policy making, and to give the opportunity to graduate students to contribute to the debate by proposing pragmatic solutions to advance development goals. What do you think are the right balances between research and public policy in the careers of those who care about sustainable development? And what advice would you give to our students, some of whom are about to start out their careers?
Yeah, great. I mean, there is really an interlink between the roles, policies, framework, and the interventions that we're trying to strive to bring about change. Once a country, for instance, have a conducive environment, they have policies that protect the minorities, that protect, for instance, the environment. Once we have all those laws and policies in place, that's actually a great start, where now we know that we have the law, we have the policies that actually protect what we are fighting for. It means that our work is going to be so much easier, I think, I assume. And I think that's a bottom line that I have just shared about changing the legal marriage age in my country. This was a great start towards in progress towards ending child marriage. And from there, now that we have the law that is actually backing us, it's easier to interact with the community to say, we have this law. You can't marry your children whilst they are below the age of 18. And for example, another example could be the ban of thin plastic. If a country adopts the ban of thin plastic, it means that it's easier for young people to come up with solutions and technologies, innovative solutions towards banning thin plastic, because there is a law that protects them. If we have the law that protects every woman, every child, every young person, from all those disruptive things that are happening in the world, it also means that we have a law backup. So there is that interlinkage where we have the rules and processes in place, and then it's easier for us to be able to rise up and fight for change. So it's very important that our countries, as well as for UN agencies, to ensure that countries have laws that protect everything, that defends human rights, that also protect the environment in place, so that as young people we should be able to rise up for social change. And for the young people that are preparing and furthering their education, it's very key for us to really take part in different initiatives that are happening around us. And I would like to say that sometimes you feel like, oh, my idea is not really great enough. But I always say the smallest idea can turn into the biggest change that you never really expected. So it really starts from a small idea, and then it builds up to a bigger idea. And when you team up, and when you have from there, you end up having partners joining you. You end up having allies. You build allies to support you. And from there, that's when the small cause can really be amplified and become a bigger achievement. It really starts small and it builds up. And I think that's how change begins. It begins with a fearless mind, and then a bold mind that what I put up to will change the world. And I believe that as young people, we have the power to actually change the ecosystem around us.
Thank you so much, Ms. Banda. This was a very interesting address. And I do hope that we'll be able to welcome you someday in person here in Geneva at the Graduate Institute. Thank you very much again. We are now going to continue with the award ceremony of the Geneva Challenge, which will be chaired by Mr. Michael Muller, president of our jury, and also a strong supporter of our contest. Michael, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Martina, and welcome to all of you. And thank you, a very warm thank you to, I don't know if she's still there, to Memory Banda for her very insightful address. It's a privilege to have had her online with us at this award ceremony. And much gratitude, of course, to Professor Martina Viarengo for moderating this discussion. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear finalist teams, today, as our director told you, marks the 11th edition of this remarkable contest. As we confront profound global challenges, it is clear that only integrated, collaborative, and preventive approaches can develop the sustainable solutions that we need. Each one of us, in every capacity, shares the responsibility to contribute. Intergenerational dialogue and collaboration is essential for ensuring knowledge transfer and the future stewardship of our planet. The Geneva Challenge empowers young leaders and demonstrates the impact of collaborative action for sustainable development. Over the past 11 years, the challenge has brought together more than 10,000 graduate students from over 200 universities spanning 100+ nationalities. A very strong testament to the power of shared purpose. So on behalf of the jury, also I and the jury would like to join Marie-Laure Salle in thanking Ambassador Jenö Staehelin, the founder and the funder of the challenge, for continuing to give the opportunity to all our young participants to embrace these challenges, to see them as opportunities, and to devise innovative solutions to effectively manage them and help to advance the Sustainable Development Goals. Also, a deep felt gratitude to Marie-Laure Salle and the Geneva Graduate Institute for hosting this contest and for helping prepare the participants for their work at the cutting edge of global challenges. Each year, the Geneva Challenge invites interdisciplinary teams to propose theoretically grounded and practical solutions to real-world issues. This year, as we know, the focus is on the challenges of youth empowerment. Today, there are 1.8 billion youth, the largest generation of young people in history. And as Marie-Laure just quoted, I'd like to repeat it because it's worth repeating. The late Kofi Annan, former high patron of Geneva Challenges, noted that any society that does not succeed in tapping into the energy and creativity of its youth will be left behind. This is an increasingly true quote. Yet, young people still face significant barriers to their empowerment. More than 333 million children live in extreme poverty, and 1 billion lack access to safe drinking water and nutritious food. 250 million children were out of school in 2023, and 600 million were without basic literacy or numeracy skills. Unequal access to technology during the COVID-19 pandemic further exacerbated inequalities in access to education, and youth unemployment continues to climb. Climate change is also expected to particularly impact today's youth and our future generations. This year, we received a notable increase in submissions compared to last year. 91 projects from 362 participants, representing over 100 universities, underscoring the global significance of the theme to young people, as it ought to be for everyone. The submissions span diverse global contexts and present innovative strategies to empower youth in a myriad of ways. So now I have the pleasure to call up our teams, one after the other, of the finalist teams to present their projects. And I start by inviting the team from Europe to join me on the stage. To you.
Good evening. My name is Chibuzor, and with my colleagues Cynthia, Simiso, and Titi, we represent Team Europe from the University of Cambridge. Today, there are more than 1 million young Nigerians who are both internally displaced and out of school. These young people suffer the brutal consequences of armed conflicts and natural disasters while being separated from the rest of Nigeria's youth population due to a lack of educational access. For those of them in IDP camps, attempts to provide education have produced little results so far, for reasons ranging from a lack of resources to the trauma associated with internal displacement. This is why we have developed Project REACH, Resilient Education for Advancing Camp Horizons. The core objective of Project REACH is for these youth in camps to take the lead in solving their educational problems. And we achieve this through a project that consists of 3 pillars: the delivery of education in these camps through mobile learning units, the identification and empowerment of youth who have completed junior secondary education, and their subsequent education of youth of lower literacy levels, all facilitated by the offline REACH app. Project REACH will be implemented for the pilot stage at the Yola North Local Government area of Nigeria, and it will be done in collaboration with key stakeholders from the public and private sectors and civil society, while being propelled by an extensive monitoring and evaluation framework to track the progress of our project. We believe that Project REACH is value-driven, human-centered, and self-sustaining. Through these inclusive projects, we envision a future where youth are not only empowered to pursue their aspirations, but are also confident, creative, and courageous enough to make these aspirations come true. Join us as we work to make this our vision a reality. Thank you.
I'm asking my colleague on the jury, Rachel Quick, the head of Special Interest Program at the Oak Foundation, to provide some comments on the Europe presentation. You can go to the...
Pleasure today to hear from all of the teams in much greater detail, obviously, so that was just a little synopsis. And now it's my pleasure to explain why the panel really loved this proposal and presentation. As Marie-Laure said at the beginning of the evening, obviously the problem of internal displacement and indeed external displacement is becoming more and more acute around the world, and we're just going to see it rise. And so we're seeing this generation who are now having to live in IDP camps and elsewhere, stranded and very often without an education. This project obviously focused on Nigeria and the challenges in Nigeria, but we saw that it could very well be implemented in other contexts around the world. We really loved, in terms of the youth empowerment component, we really loved that there was this youth-to-youth exchange. So the idea was very much to train up people within the camps who are a certain level of education, who would then teach their peers and younger students. And we're really talking about situations where there is often very little education at all being provided, so the baseline is very low. So we felt that despite many of the challenges in Nigeria and elsewhere, this project was at least making a stab at giving these young people an education. We felt that the team dealt very well with our questions that we had submitted in advance about the particular context of Nigeria, and they did an excellent job of presenting today. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rachel. I now invite the team from Latin America to join me on stage.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Are you a young Latin American entrepreneur, full of ideas, but with few resources to bring them to life? Or perhaps you already have a project, but you don't know how to make it visible. The reality is that many young people in our region face barriers that limit their access to the knowledge and opportunities they need to transform these ideas into successful realities. Nowadays, Latin America faces numerous challenges, such as poverty, inequality, unemployment, and informality. Moreover, 1 out of 5 young people in the region are not working nor studying, and the situation is even harder for young women, who face additional limitations due to caregiving responsibilities. So, without rights or stability, the dreams and aspirations of youth are very limited. But here is the silver lining. In recent years, young people have embraced entrepreneurship as a path to economic empowerment and independence. It is a growing movement, but it still faces some challenges, such as resource limitations, bureaucratic obstacles, and gender barriers. This is where Youth Export comes in. We have developed a free mobile app that enables young entrepreneurs to export their products across the region, overcoming the challenges of logistics, costumes, and bureaucracy. From their homes and with zero initial investment, young entrepreneurs can run their businesses from the comfort of their homes, accessing international markets securely. But we are not stopping there. Youth Export seeks to connect people and build bridges between nations. By building strategic alliances with governments, civil society organizations, and corporations to deliver expertise and support. In doing so, we are creating opportunities, empowering young people to shape their own futures and contribute to the economic growth of their communities. Youth Export is here to help you seize the opportunity to change the world with your ideas. The world is yours. Go for it.
Thank you very much, team. And I now invite Aggie Veres, the director of the UNDP office here in Geneva, to provide the team with some feedback.
Thank you very much, and congratulations on a very interesting and well put together project to you. My pleasure is to give you a little bit of feedback and emphasize that we really liked the idea of filling in a gap that you identified and essentially trying to bring young people into the world of business, overcoming the barriers and the obstacles that they are facing today. We especially like the fact that you understood that while there's a lot of opportunities in terms of e-commerce already globally, but in Latin America there are barriers in terms of connectivity between the countries and from a trade perspective, import-export connections between the countries. So we appreciate the aspect that this project will actually remove that barrier and provide the opportunities to respond to a global world and allowing these young people to take part in this. It's also a very practical solution, and we especially liked the aspect of the technical support, because while there are a lot of e-commerce platforms, very few actually offer the advice to young people or in general starting entrepreneurs to be able to enter the world of e-commerce. We also like the fact that you already thought through the partnerships and what this can be an add-on to in terms of the e-commerce companies, and that you already started some talks with some of these potential partners. Also a very dynamic team. We felt the good connection across the three of you, a network team, and you seem to complement each other in terms of what you bring to the table. And again, congratulations to the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Aggie. The turn is now to the team from Asia that I invite to come on stage.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today, 1.8 billion young people, many of which are facing insecurities in youth empowerment and youth engagement. So we are here today to present our project called Project DigiBridge. We would like to be the bridge to empower young people with the right digital skills to help them bridge the digital gap. So our project is based on the persona of a young girl named Dina living in the rural area of Cambodia. Dina operates a small business in traditional way, and her business was hit hard when COVID hit. She wasn't prepared with measures to overcome the pandemic, overcome the problem, and this is where we see the opportunity to help bridge this gap. Specialized curriculum is the core of our project. Before we design a specific curriculum, we would first do a needs assessment in that area. For this case, we did a needs assessment analysis based on the case of Dina in Cambodia. We interviewed her, we did research on the community around her, and we found out that there is a need for curriculum which address digital marketing, e-commerce, and finance. So this is what we are trying to introduce. We would like to introduce a specific, customizable and curriculum which is suitable for the youth, where we would be working together with important stakeholders such as the local government, the national government, and relevant ministries such as Ministry of Education, Ministry of Digital Economy, the UN organizations, and civil society organizations. We will be giving them training, we will be equipping them with the skills so that they could be change makers. The core of our project is we are training youth to be trainers of other youth. So we are training change makers to train other change makers to transform the world through education. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Team Asia. And I now invite Yvette Stevens, the former permanent representative of Sierra Leone in Geneva, on stage to provide the team with some feedback. Yvette, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to start by saying that youth unemployment is high. Up to, and we've heard before, that up to 50% in some countries of youth are unemployed. And yet, if you look deeply into it, the youth are trying to get employment, and they're working mainly in the informal sector and working in small enterprises, small and micro enterprises. And the case they gave was that these enterprises depend on face-to-face contacts. And during the time of the pandemic, some of these small informal sector activities suffered. Now, what is important nowadays is to have access, to have digital education. And I think this project is aiming to provide IT literacy to people in the rural areas that could help them to actually understand how to sell their products, and also link them also to e-commerce institutions, so that they would be able to trade their projects, to trade their goods, and without problem. We like this project because it's also is very important. It has replicability. And we feel that that youth from the rural areas, from many parts of the world, could benefit from a project of this type. In this day and age, we all agree that digital literacy is very important, and this project will provide digital literacy as well as education on accessing e-commerce. We think this is one way that the youth that are striving in the informal sector in the rural areas could have access to the markets that they need, and that will provide employment for them. So we really like this project, and I think the team answered to all our questions, and they had thought this out very well. So we liked it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yvette. And now I'm pleased to invite the team from North America and Oceania to join me up here.
Good evening, everyone. We're from Harvard University, and we're representing the team North America and Oceania, and we're also from Indonesia. I wanted to start by saying that for many of us, especially women in their menstrual period of the month, I think it's pretty common for us to feel dizzy, tired, and fatigued. And it turns out 1 in 3 women around the world, starting from a very young age, are suffering from anemia, and they're experiencing these symptoms more often. And the number goes even higher for pregnant women. Anemia happens when our hemoglobin level is too low, so the oxygen that we breathe cannot be transferred to all parts of our body. So imagine having a shortness of breath all over your body. And it can impact not only your health, but also your ability to learn, work, impacting an entire lifetimes. Anemia is a major silent public health problem because the symptoms are commonly disregarded and people don't recognize the huge impact it can bring. This is why the global solution of iron folic acid supplementation haven't worked for decades. Why would I take a pill when I feel healthy? And it's very unintuitive for adults and girls, as they only need to take it once a week. That's where BSI, our intervention, comes in. We aim to connect the 2 most vulnerable groups in need of iron, adults and girls and pregnant women. Adults and girls because they're needed for their rapid growth, and also because they experience the menstrual blood loss every month. And for pregnant women, they need iron to support their baby's development. So just like Tinder or any dating apps, we aim to match adults and girls as a volunteer with a pregnant woman, where a girl can learn about anemia and also help to track the health milestones of a pregnant woman, starting from also taking the iron folic acid supplementation, also to monitor the prenatal care visit, when it can be very overwhelming sometimes for the pregnant women to follow through. We hope by this pairing, adults and girls can learn firsthand the tangible effects of iron folic acid, and they can be more adherent to the iron folic acid supplementation. And they will more likely to follow through because they would feel compelled to practice what they encourage. And we're imagining by this program, by this pairing, we're not only addressing anemia, but we're actually tackling a lot of other health issues that often target this both group. And we look forward to fostering this community with your support. Thank you.
Thank you, team. And now I'd like to invite Florian Schatz. He's an advisor at the German Development Organization, to give us the feedback.
Congratulations again to the team from Indonesia for this great presentation. As a member of the jury, it's now my role to give you a few comments about why we selected BSI. First, we thought you really did your homework. Your proposal stood out with a thorough analysis of the problem and potential solutions, grounded in evidence, and with a clear implementation plan and budget. You left us with no doubts that your solution, BSI, is not just an ungrounded idea, but the best possible solution to the problem you so meticulously researched. And not that this was an official indicator, but I counted. With 61 references, your proposal reviewed more literature than any other proposal. Second, you convinced us that BSI could make a real difference to youth empowerment. Iron deficiency anemia is a real and overlooked problem, especially in the context that you described, the Indonesian low-cost private schools. Your innovation has the potential to address this. By pairing adolescent girls with pregnant women, they will learn about the importance of iron supplementation by practice and not by reading. We also thought that combining online and offline interventions, such as the Orange School Garden that you mentioned, is another innovative element of how BSI could succeed. And finally, at the very basic level, empowerment is at a very basic level about physical opportunities to develop. And when girls are anemic and they can't concentrate or they can't stay awake, they don't even have these very basic physical opportunities, just like when they're hungry or ill. So this is a basic need that needs to be met before addressing any other dimensions of empowerment, and BESI can help to do so. Thank you again, and we encourage you to implement your proposal. All the best.
Thank you, Florian. And now our last team from Africa, if you could come up to the stage.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. What an honor it is to be here at the Geneva Institute. We are representing the University of Cape Town, the Graduate School of Business, and we are representing Team Africa. We aim to empower the youth by reducing teen pregnancies, and we want to do this because the statistics are scary. 1 in 4, that's the number of pregnant teens in South Africa. 1 in 3, the number of school dropouts due to these pregnancies. 6 in 10, that's the number of illegal abortions and unsafe abortions. I want to take a moment just for you to think, if you were a 13-year-old girl in rural South Africa, no Wi-Fi, no reliable access to the internet, where pregnancy is a reality for you personally and in your community, but you're ostracized. There's no access to healthcare facilities. What would you do for guidance? Where would you go? That's where Mtase Cares comes in. Mtase is an isiXhosa word for my sibling. We aim with our initiative to provide healthcare that is essential, reproductive healthcare and education to people that need it, breaking down the barriers of stigma and access. We will go into isolated communities that wouldn't otherwise have access to this essential reproductive healthcare and education, teaching both young boys and young girls through this, empowering, educating, and transforming lives, and breaking the cycle of poverty that persists when young girls get pregnant through unplanned pregnancy and teenage parenthood. Our project is inspired by a successful Rwandan program where they increased contraceptive use from 17 to 53% over a decade. Mtase Cares hopes to do this through our mobile clinics. And we are grounded on the philosophy of Ubuntu, which is I am because we are. So we hope to transform lives by doing just that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Team Africa. And now I'd like to ask Yvette Stevens to come up again to give the feedback to Team Africa.
Yes. As you have heard, the problem of teenage pregnancy in sub-Saharan Africa is a big one. You have heard the statistics that are given here. In some countries, in fact, in my country, which is Sierra Leone, teenage pregnancy was declared a national emergency because of so many young teenage girls that were getting pregnant, and we know what that does to the teenage child, what it does to their aspirations, to their education, to their health. We have heard about it. So this project is geared to reach teenage girls in the most remote areas. We do accept that there are some programs on reproductive health, but these are restricted to the urban areas. But this, through the mobile clinics, would be reaching girls at the level of the village. We liked it because we think that it has the potential of addressing this very, very urgent problem that we face. We also like one aspect of it, which is creating the community awareness, because we know that sometimes the whole question of reproductive health is looked at with skepticism by people in the rural areas who say, don't come and teach our children about, sexual engagement, because they assume that by doing that, they are protecting the children. So I believe that this reaching out, having this community aspect, creating the community awareness so that when this project is implemented, there is support from the community. And it is in that light that we like this project. It is going to succeed. We had very, very pertinent questions which we posed to the team, and we felt that the results they gave showed that this was a problem that they knew about, and that they knew that their actions through this project is going to address in a big way. So thank you. And thank you, congratulations to the team.
Thank you very much, Yvette. And thank you for these excellent presentations. So we now come to the much-awaited part of the evening, and I'd like to invite the founder of the Geneva Challenge, Ambassador Staehelin, to the stage to present the prizes to the team. 5 prizes will be distributed tonight, meaning that each regional group will receive a prize. 2 prizes will be awarded for 3rd place, 2 for 2nd place, and 1 for 1st place. As always, the jury deliberated intensely, and it is my great pleasure to announce, and I'll start from the bottom if you want, that the 3rd place goes to 2 teams. First is Project DigiBridge, that I'd like to invite up here to receive the prize. Congratulations, and thank you very much. The 2nd, 3rd prize goes to Project Youth Export from Latin America. All of you should move a bit. Yeah, a little bit. Congratulations to Team Latin America. And now to the 2nd place. That goes also to 2 teams. The 1st, 2nd prize goes to Project Bessie. Congratulations. And the second prize goes to Project Reach. I go here. Congratulations. And finally, I'm pleased to tell you that, like you've probably guessed already, that the first place goes to Project Mtaze Cares. Congratulations, team. Thank you. This is very emotional. Warmest congratulations to all the winners. Really, we all hope that you will continue your wonderful work in advancing the Sustainable Development Goals, and we look forward to seeing the impact of your projects. With this, we almost come to the end of the ceremony. There is, however, one last important announcement that I have to make before we close. And I have the pleasure to announce that the 2025 edition of the Geneva Challenge will address the challenges of migration. 1 billion migrants globally, whether they be asylum seekers or simply people looking for a better and more secure life, offer countless benefits to their host countries and the communities they originate from. Migration fuels economic growth by supplying labor for essential sectors, enhancing productivity and innovation. Culturally, migration enriches communities, fostering creativity and new ideas. Migrants also send substantial remittances home, supporting families and local economies. Knowledge exchange enables skills development and technology transfer, building capacity globally. And in countries with aging populations and declining birth rates, as we are witnessing now, migration provides a younger workforce essential for sustaining welfare systems and overall economic health. Embracing migration, therefore, is not just about compassion. For many host countries, it's also about self-interest. However, not all migrants benefit from the above. Many face discrimination, workplace exploitation, and limited access to essential services. Others are confined to low-wage jobs, and cultural and language barriers add to their struggles. Addressing these issues is crucial for securing their rights and building inclusive and productive communities. The number of displaced persons is growing. According to UNHCR, the refugee agencies, 122.6 million this year are forcibly displaced worldwide. They face a plethora of additional challenges. For instance, the vast majority of refugees, around 75%, are hosted by low and middle-income countries that often face significant challenges in meeting the needs of their own populations. And clearly, this is a topic of increasing importance globally and what that needs to be addressed in much better and much more innovative ways than has been done before. It is not acceptable that the average time that a refugee spends in a refugee camp is 17 years. We need to fix that, and we need to change the way we address the issue of migrants and refugees. Our youth are tomorrow's change makers, and I encourage them to develop innovative, scalable, and implementable projects that turn the issue of migration from a problem into opportunities. We very much hope that the submissions of next year will reflect the innovative approach we saw in the outstanding projects of our finalists presented today. Please help us spread the word about the topic of the Geneva Challenge for next year, 2025. A very warm thank you to all of you who have joined us in Geneva and online. Your presence and interest in what all of these young people are doing helps us sustain the momentum and growth of this challenge. And my colleagues and I look forward to welcome you again for the next edition of the Geneva Challenge. Thank you very much. Godspeed. Have a nice evening.